Welcome back, travelers. I'm so excited for you to join us for our second episode. We are having technical difficulties, as you see. We are traveling this time to England. I'm using this Atlas Obscura, which I'm going to be using a lot of, thanks to Dad buying this for me at the Costco in Pompano Beach, Florida. So that's one of the atlases. You know, I'm using online sources, books. I mean, the show does say Atlas in it, so we do need to use Atlas or two. Okay, but before we start, you know, we have our little around the world game. Okay. Question. Are you ready? You have 5 seconds. What name is given to the clarified butter used in Indian cuisine? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ghee. Okay. Okay, as I tell my students in geography, babies know this. In which country would you find the Leaning Tower of Pisa? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. None other but Italy. Okay. You know, I go on and off of drinking coffee. I love high quality coffee. I'm not big into K-pods or whatever. Okay. Which South American country is the world's largest coffee producer? And it's not maybe what you think. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brazil. Brazil's a country I really want to get to. Very excited. I will be getting there. I've been to South America. I've been to Chile. Okay, so let's get into our book. Okay, this is the second edition. Okay, so we are going on to England. All right, jolly old England. I've been to England twice. I've been in 2001. So I've been to England first, and then I went to Chile because it was before 9/11. Now I remember. I went with my dad when I was in high school, and then I went with some of my coworkers and their friends in 2013. That's the last time I've been to England and London mostly. And then I went to the Cliffs of Dover because we took a ferry over to Francia. Okay. But yeah, why not? I'll go back. All right, good old England. So we're starting with the Silver Swan. So these are like activities that like most people don't do. You know, we're not talking about Big Ben or the Tower of London. I was gonna say Tower of Terror at Disney. That's not what it is. So these are kind of like off the beaten path. So I like this. Okay, so let's get back to it, Michael. Okay, the Silver Swan, the uncanny, lifelike musical automaton. I had to Google that because I've never heard of that word. Mimics a full-size floating swan on a pond of spun glass rods. Created in the 1770s, it uses 3 clockworks to perform a 40-second routine to the calming bell-like music. What's really interesting, kind of reminds me when I've been to Las Vegas, you watch the show Bellagio. This is like 1770s. This is the beginning or in the midst of the Industrial Revolution where there's industry and smoke and dust. And then this is actually something pretty that happens during that time. So it's kind of important to always keep the time frame in mind. Okay. When wound, the swan moves its neck from side to side to preen its feathers before dipping its beak into the pond and snatching up a tiny fish. Okay. First displayed in British jeweler James Cox's Mechanical Museum, the swan was purchased by a collector in 1872, is now housed in the Beaux Museum, a French chateau in the north of England. Excuse me. Fancy. Okay. So I see it's in northern England. I've not been to northern England and I'm ready to go. All right. Walking, eating, moving machines. Oh God. Automatons, mechanical figures that move in an eerily lifelike manner, have existed for centuries, but their heyday was during the 18th and 19th centuries. Again, that's Industrial Revolution. Okay. I don't know what this is. I don't feel like reading about that. All right, let's go to the next page. This is really cool, this one. I really like this one, if I can. All right. It's a little deep, but the poison garden, because I am on the green team, and gardening is, I'm really not good at gardening, I'm not gonna lie, and half my lawn is dead. But I do appreciate people that garden, and I do advocate for native plants. Okay, so this is something I would not advocate to get, a poison garden. So this is in Alnwick, North Cumberland. To enter the poison garden of Alnwick, you must first fetch a guide to unlock the black iron gates, which are decorated with a white skull and crossbones and a worrying message: these plants can kill. Oh my. Inspired by the poison gardens in the 16th century Padua, where the Medicis plotted the frothing ends of the royal enemies, the Duchess of Northumberland created this garden in 2005. Wow, I thought this was gonna be like from like 1705, dedicating it entirely to poisonous or narcotic flora. Okay. The Duchess Jane Piercy is an unlikely patron. In 1995, her husband unexpectedly became the 12th Duke of Northumberland following his brother's death. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Roaming the elaborate gardens, the newly minted Duchess decided to transform an overgrown, neglected section into something that was once both traditional and dangerous. The poison garden now sits nestled among 14 acres of greenery dotted with water sculptures, a cherry orchard, a bamboo labyrinth, and an enormous treehouse. Bamboo is invasive in New Jersey, FYI. This carefully curated garden contains more than 100 plants that have the power to do bad things. Just to abbreviate there. This is a kid-friendly show. Guides detail their dangerous properties while enforcing the strict no touch, no smelling rule. So this would not be a field trip. I don't know if I could go there because I love touching stuff and smelling plants. So it's under 24-hour security. All right, so they have some of these plants. So they've ingested the lily of the valley. I've heard of that. May cause abdominal pain, vomiting, slowing of the heart, and blurred vision. Does not sound good. Okay. All right, what do we have here? This was really cool. I saw. All right, this is really cool. England has a lot of really cool history that I didn't realize until I started reading this. The chain books of Heraford Cathedral in Herefordshire. I might be butchering the names of these places. I apologize. This cathedral contains two medieval marvels, a chained library of rare books, and one of the earliest maps of the world. Oh, I'm excited. In the Middle Ages, before the availability of the printing press, volumes on law and religion were quite rare and valuable. To protect against thefts, the books of Hereford Cathedral were chained to desks, pulpits, and study tables. The chain library was created in 1611 when a collection of hand-transcribed, hand-bound books was moved into the Lady Chapel. Hello, lady. Most of the volumes in the collection are acquisitions dating back to the 1100s. Although the oldest book in the collection, the Hereford Gospels, dates to about the year 800. The medieval world map stored at Hereford Cathedral depicts 3 continents, Europe, Asia, and Africa. On the as yet unexplored periphery of these lands roam fire-breathing dragons, dog-faced men, people who survive on only the scent of apples and a Manalakai. I don't know what that is. I guess I'll find out. A race of mythical beings who take shade under their giant feet when the sun becomes too bright. The 5 by 4.5 foot map created around 1300 is part geography, part history, and part religious teaching aid. A lack of confirmed information on Asian and African geography presented no obstacle for the mapmaker, who used hearsay, mythology, and imagination to fill in the gaps, which explains a four-eyed Ethiopians. Okay. All right, so it's a 3.5-hour train from London. And what to keep in perspective with England and London is that they conquered and took over lands, and usually not in the nicest ways. And that's an example of how they kind of viewed people outside of England to be not the same as themselves. Mechanical clock in Salisbury. I don't feel like reading about that. This I feel like reading about because I enjoy weather. So George Merryweather's carousel of weather predicting leeches was more charming than accurate. So leeches were like big. Actually, one of my students were talking about leeches. I don't know why, but they were. Okay, the Tempest Procrastinator. Prognosticator. That's a made-up word. That's why I can't say it. Prognosticator. There you go. Hooked on phonics did not work for me. Okay, it's in Oakhampton, Devon. Surgeon George Merryweather had a passion for leeches. According to Merryweather, the creepy worms possessed human-like instincts, experienced the hollow aches of loneliness, and were capable of forecasting weather. All this gave him an idea for a machine that he believed could transform meteorology. Fun fact, I went to Rutgers University. I went for environmental policy and I minored in geography, but I was debating to do meteorology, and then you had to do like 4 years of physics, and then you had to do calculus. I'm like, nope, no, sir. Okay. In 1851, Merryweather unveiled the Tempest Prognosticator at the Great Exhibition in London. Having witnessed the agitation of freshwater leeches during the lead up to a heavy rainstorm, the doctor concluded he could build a leech-powered weather forecasting device. The contraption resembled a miniature merry-go-round, but in place of the usual phonies were a dozen of glass bottles, each containing a single leech. Should a storm approach, the creatures would make their way to the top of the glass, triggering a wire connected to a central bell. Though certainly novel, Merryweather's invention did not catch on. His vision of the British government deploying Tempest prognosticators nationwide remained mere fantasy, but his invention lives on in form of reconstructed version prominently displayed in the Barometer World Expedition Museum in Devon. Oh, that's really cool. Okay. Well, that's very interesting. But won't the leeches eventually die? I don't know. I don't know how that would work. They would like just come out for storms. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. We are still in England, people. We've not even hit London. I don't even know we're going to get to London. Oh, this is really cool. I liked reading about this one. Okay, this one is the Great Sound Mirrors. So this is in Greatstone, Kent. So this is really cool if you enjoy like World War history. As part of its national defense strategy after World War I, Britain built 3 massive concrete acoustic mirrors on the southeast coast of England to detect the sound of distant airplane engines in the sky. Working much like giant ears, and you'll see if you're on YouTube, they kind of look like ears. The trio of reflectors could provide a 15-minute warning of an air invasion by magnifying the sound of waves over the English Channel and directing them at microphones. And you have to remember, like, this was not at the birth of electricity, but World War I really stepped up the game with war technology. Really much different than the wars before, where it was like more horses. This had chemical warfare. It had tanks. It was totally different. So they kind of had to up their defense. So it's really interesting to see that. An operator sitting in a nearby booth listened to the transmitted signal through headphones that resembled a stethoscope. The Great Stone site features 3 different reflectors. including a 200-foot-long curved wall, a 30-foot tall parabolic dish, and a 20-foot shallow dish. All right, so this is in the Dungeness National Nature Reserve, off Dungeness Road. All right, let's see, we're at jolly old England, jolly old England. This I thought was really cool. I'm actually shocked because England is not like the first place that I think about like visiting and stuff, but this kind of makes me want to explore. I mean, let's be honest, when I learn about somewhere new, I'm like, I want to go there. All right, so this is a long player. So a millennium-long piece of music composed for Tibetan singing bowls will be playing at the Trinity Buoy Wharf through 2999. No. Okay, it's called the long player. London, Londres. If you miss hearing Long Player on your next trip to London, you'll get the chance to catch it again. The musical composition will be playing in the old lighthouse at the Trinity Buoy Wharf for the next 1,000 years. Long Player consists of 6 short recorded pieces written for Tibetan singing bowls that are transposed and combined in such a way that variations will never repeat during the song's millennium-long run. Wow. I hope my music lasts that long. And that's the really cool thing about music. There's so many different ways. Like at the end, it's all repeated, but just the different ways to do it and how you, just the different varieties. It's so cool. So making music is probably one of the most beautiful things I do. And I just got into making music in 2020, and just be creative, travel, join the green team. Just creativity really soothes the soul. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, as I got sidetracked as usual, this is exactly what my class is like. Okay. It began playing on December 31st, 1999. I was still in middle school then. Yes, I'm born in the 80s, but in that 20th century. And scheduled to end in the dying seconds of 2,999. Custodians of the project had established the Long Player Trust to devise ways of keeping the music alive in the face of the inevitable technological and social changes that would occur over the next 10 centuries. That's scary. You know, I will say, as you get older, time goes by very quick. Okay, this is like a whole London guide. I feel like I could have done an episode. Maybe I will. All right, we're gonna. We're in London. I'm just gonna go for it. This is gonna be a long episode. It is what it is. Okay. Archie the Giant Squid. London. The giant squid is often depicted as a sea monster. In Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, a giant squid attacks a boat and devours one of its crew. The Kraken of Norse mythology, an enormous creature whose tentacles could supposedly wrap around the tallest of ship masts and rip whole vessels asunder, likely arose from a combination of giant squid sightings, imagination, and exaggeration. When you talk a lot, you make a lot of like little errors, at least I do. Okay. The deep sea dwelling giant squid's notorious elusiveness only fuels tall tales. Though records show they've been sighted sporadically since the 16th century, it wasn't until 2002 that photographers were able to capture an image of a live squid in its natural habitat, which makes the Natural History Museum's 28-foot specimen a rare delight. Caught off the coast of Falkland Islands in 2004, that's off Argentina, and named Archie in recognition of its species name. The giant squid is preserved in a custom-made acrylic tank. Well, that's nice. I do eat squid, FYI. All right, I thought there was more. There is more in London. Like, get the book. There's just like a lot of stuff going on. We're going to end at a high note at a cemetery. Highgate Cemetery, Londres, London. Opened in 1839, Highgate is one of London's most famous cemeteries. I never heard of it. Its residents include Karl Marx, Sci-fi author Douglas Adams and Adam Worth, the possible inspiration for Sherlock Holmes' nemesis, Professor Marathi. Okay, never heard of that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not into Sherlock Holmes and all that stuff. It's just not my thing. In the Victorian era, anyone wanted to be buried in London's fashionable Highgate Cemetery. But fashion is fickle. By the 1940s, the Victorian cemetery was in a state of neglect. It once coveted burial plots covered in vines. Aww. In 1970, members of a group interested in the occult claimed to have seen supernatural creatures lurking in the graveyard. Oh no. Initial reports of ghosts gave way to talk about vampire. A Transylvanian prince brought to the cemetery in the 1800s was hiding out in Highgate. Oh. I don't know. I don't mess with that stuff, but I mean, that's interesting. Okay. I'm just reading on. So there was some break-ins and people went in with garlic crosses and stakes. I guess they got rid of the vampire. You should not be doing that. To my fans, you should not be doing that, especially like any property. That's just not cool. So yeah, so there's that cemetery, and this is in London, and it is on Swans Lane. Swans, something lane. The cemetery is a 20-minute walk up Highgate Hill and through Waterlow Park. All right, well, I didn't know we had so much to talk about with that. I mean, there's one more thing in London, but c'est la vie. We have so many other places to explore. This is going to be probably like my go-to. I did order other books online. All right, so before we finish, let's get into, oh, look, this has to deal with the UK. Okay, it's not England then. Which Scottish city is the host of the Fringe, the world's largest art festival? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Edinburgh. That's Scotland. Okay. Monrovia, I'll give you a hint, it's in Africa, is the capital of which country? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know why I did it with my eyes, but I wanted to. Liberia. Okay, we did this one already? Yes. All right, let's see. One more. Aww. Oh, I love donkeys. It was meant to be. Which Mexican dish comes from the Spanish meaning little donkey? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Burrito. Oh, burrito. Oh my gosh. I'm ending this. I'm just gonna laugh because I'm gonna use this. And this happens. I butcher words all the time, and I do speak Spanglish, so I get it, but I saw this menu and looking at it, and it said they serve donkey, and then I realized they meant burrito. They put burro, like burrito, and it came, and so it was like donkey, and yeah. It's really important to spell check, but listen, I butcher names all the time. That's how life goes. Like, if you let language and you let this stuff stop you, you'll be miserable. Well, thank you for watching the second episode. More episodes are to come. And yeah, I'm really excited. I really, really like this book a lot. So we will be using it a lot. Okay. Well, ciao, travelers. And remember, if you know the world, you know anyone. So study up on that geography.